Okay, I'm calling this meeting to order at 6:08. Emergency meeting is being done on New Hampshire RSA 91-A:2, Roman numeral 3B. Due to COVID-19 crisis and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, the board is authorized to meet electronically. To do that, we need to ask 3 questions, and I will do that and go through board member by board member, kind of calling on you. So the 3 questions, just to put them out to everybody, is that I will need you to state where you are, that you can hear the proceedings, and that you are alone. We all know the reason we're doing this electronically is COVID-19, so that's fine. So I'm just going to start with Krista. If you could answer those 3 questions for me.
I am at home and I am alone. And I'm sorry, what was the third one?
And can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Excellent. Thank you, Krista. Beth?
Yeah, I'm home in Brookline. I'm alone and I can hear you all.
Thank you very much, Beth. Kate?
I am home, I am alone, and I can hear everybody.
Thank you. Liz?
Hi, I'm in my home and I'm as alone as I can be with 4 other people in the house, and I can hear everyone.
Thank you. Cindy?
I am home, I'm alone, and I can hear everyone.
Holly?
I'm home alone and I can hear everyone.
And do we know, Bob, has Tom joined us yet?
No, he's not.
Okay. When he does, can you let me know so I can ask him those 3 questions, please?
Will do.
Okay. As the board is aware, this is our annual reorganization meeting. So I'd just like to go over the process a little bit in this remote format. Shortly, I'll open the floor for a nomination for the chair of the school board. I will ask the board for a nomination, and then I will ask for a second. Once an individual is put forth, we'll have a discussion around that individual, and then I would call for a vote. If that person becomes the chair, that person would take over, and we would repeat the process for a vice chair and for a secretary. Are there any questions around the nomination process or selecting the chair? Okay. At this time, I would welcome anybody to put forth a nomination for the chair of the Hollis Brookline Cooperative School Board.
I'd like to nominate Holly Babcock.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. So I have a nomination, a motion, and a second. Is there any discussion?
I'd just like to say I think Holly's done a wonderful job this year. She's thoughtful, she's deliberate in all of and how she handles everything that we deal with. And in addition to that, I think it's important to continue to have a chair for more than 1 year, if possible, to have consistency.
Are there any other comments or discussion?
Well, thank you.
Seeing none, we have to do a roll call vote on everything we do tonight. So I will just call the names and take your responses. Krista?
Krista, aye.
Beth?
Beth, I.
Kate?
Kate, I.
Liz?
Liz, I.
Cindy?
Cindy, I.
Holly?
Holly, aye.
And has Tom joined us yet?
Not yet.
No.
Okay, so that, based on the results, it's 6-0, and I will pass the meeting over to Holly at this time to repeat the process for a vice chair and a secretary.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Andy. At this point, we need to nominate someone to be vice chair. Is there someone who has a nomination? Like to make a motion?
I'd like to nominate Tom Solon.
Is there a second?
Second.
Great. Is there any discussion?
Same thing. I think the two of you work well together. I think it's a good combination. And again, I think it'd be nice to have a consistency for another year.
Yeah, I would say that would be nice is to maintain consistency, especially right now. It's kind of a crazy time. And it would be great to have Tom continue. He's a great balance and has great ideas and manages things well. Okay, is there any other comments? All right, so I need to take a roll call vote. I'm gonna look at my screen. Beth,
Beth, I.
Kate,
Kate, I.
Krista,
Krista, I.
Liz,
Liz, I.
Cindy,
Cindy, I.
and Holly, I. So that puts Tom in as vice chair. And then we need a nomination for secretary. We had Beth doing it in the tradition. Well, first, let me see if there's a nomination out there.
I'll nominate Kate.
Anyone want to second that?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Sorry,
So,
Kate.
in terms of discussion, Kate, it's something that usually gets handed to the rookie. Beth, maybe you could explain what it's like a little bit.
Sure, it's really just getting the notes for the non-public, but I'd be happy to share that stuff with you, and we get great scripts too to help with that, so I can help you with that.
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, so any other discussion on that?
I think
Okay.
you need to vote.
What?
I think you need to vote on it.
Yes, we're voting. Okay. Beth,
Beth, I.
right. Kate,
Kate, I.
Cindy,
I.
Liz,
I.
Krista,
Krista, I.
Holly, I. Okay. All right. Next is an agenda adjustment. So that's the board, right? Am I set with that? That's good. Okay.
That's correct.
We would need a motion to adjust the agenda to add under deliberations action on the middle school master schedule. So can I have a motion on that?
So
So
moved.
moved.
So moved by Krista, seconded by Liz. I heard Liz as well. Is there any discussion on an agenda adjustment? Okay, so let's just quickly, Beth,
Beth, I.
Kate,
Kate, I.
Cindy,
Cindy, I.
Liz,
I.
Krista,
Krista, I.
Holly, I. Okay, so that's carried. So now at this point, Andy, I know you said we could waive public input. How do we do that?
Well, we have done it two different ways. In Hollis this morning, we did not have public input. In Brookline this afternoon, we did. Our attorney had suggested, because Zoom was so new to us, to waive public policy for this first meeting and then decide whether we want to do it in May. I will tell the board that Bob has become very adept at Zoom, and we were able to do public comment in the Brookline meeting this afternoon. So if the board would like to see that, we can do that because we have a number of people on with us. And the way it works is they would just raise their hand. Bob would identify that and Bob would unmute them and then they can make their comment.
Okay, well, I feel like that's probably the best way to go about this. So at this point, we'll open the floor to public input. I'll turn it over to Bob to manage the logistics on that.
And we do have a member of the public who would like to speak.
Great.
All right, go ahead, Eric.
Yes, this is Eric Power from Brookline. I sent a correspondence to Superintendent Corey about the articles of agreement for the co-op. I noticed there was a new version that was put up on the website and that it was missing the last article that was part of the previous version, Article 15, the grade reduction article that was part of the Articles of Agreement. That was added to the Articles of Agreement in 2004. And so I'd like that to get updated because it shouldn't be dropped. And also the apportionment formula that was modified with the $1 being paid by Hollis in January while you're in there, you should probably fix that as well for Article 5 for the apportionment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Any other public input at this point?
There's not.
Great. Okay, thanks so much. I think we'll note that, Eric. Thank you for pointing that out. At this point, we'll open up for discussion of,
Tom is in.
oh, Tom. Hi,
Tom,
Tom.
He's trying.
He's trying to get in.
Mhm.
I'd like to, can we wait a minute just to see if he joins before we move on to discussion? Is Tom?
I'm chatting with him through text right now. He says he's got to get his mic working.
Okay. So can he hear it?
I'm asking now. Yes, he can.
Okay, but we need to ask him those questions if he's going to join. So we need to get his mic working.
Okay.
Right? Correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Bob, did he say what computer he's on? What kind of computer?
I think the issue is he's trying to call in. And so he downloaded the app and is going to use his phone to participate. And I just think he's having trouble with the audio.
Okay, well, at this point, I think we can move on with discussion because we're not deliberating anything. He can hear things, and then as soon as he can speak, we can move forward with asking him those questions. Does that work legally, Andy? That good?
Yeah, I think that would be fine. He just can't, what I'll say, participate until he answers those questions, but he can absolutely
Okay.
listen and stay current on our topics.
Okay, great. So COVID-19.
Testing 1, 2.
Nope.
You're up.
Oh,
Yep.
yay.
Nope.
Tom,
Tom.
you're in.
Okay.
Okay.
It just says I left the meeting.
well, you had two boxes up there.
Okay.
Tom, we just need you to tell us where you are currently, who's in the room with you, and whether you can hear the proceedings.
What? I'm just
You
kidding.
need to tell us.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I am at home. I am in a room by myself for the time being. Is that, what else do you need?
And you can hear us.
What?
Right. Great.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's not going to get old at all.
And Tom, you're vice chair again. You've been nominated and elected.
Okay, thank you. Are you chair?
And now we just moved on to, we just started with discussion. So Andy's about to tell us about COVID-19, if you hadn't heard about that.
I just wanted to take a couple minutes and give you an update around what's going on with the COVID-19 in terms of remote learning. First of all, we've been up and running with remote learning for about 11 days. Gina, Bob, Amy, myself have created a survey that will go out to all families so we can get feedback from everything from how's the technology working, how much engagement is there, all of those type of questions. What we're looking for is to further provide consistency to our courses, to evaluate the level of work, and really take a good hard look at the pacing. Those are elements that we're adjusting to. I think our staff has done a tremendous job, but we really welcome the parents' input. We have received a lot of input via emails, and for the most part, it has been mainly positive, and people have greatly appreciated the efforts. One of the big discussions that we're having, and we have not reached a decision yet as a leadership team, is how we're going to approach the topic of grading. So that will be further discussions, and we will update the board and maybe have an emergency Zoom meeting if we come to a consensus on that. But we really wanted to have parents weigh in and give feedback before we made anything along those lines. In terms of the what else is taking place, we are serving meals on Mondays and Wednesdays. We are presently serving 80 families We just did as part of tomorrow's survey, families will receive paperwork in case their circumstances have changed, which would make them eligible for free and reduced lunch, which automatically would put them into the food service program. And I'd like to thank Amy Cassidy and her food service staff for just doing an outstanding job. I'd also like to recognize N68. It's a volunteer group, but we have a number of our faculty and community members that participate, and they take over the responsibility of feeding families over the weekend. And this week they fed over 50 families and provided food for our last weekend. So they are just doing a tremendous job. I have talked to Tad Putney. The Brookline Food Pantry is well stocked. People just need to, contact him if they're having access problems, and they have people that will volunteer to assist to get product to anybody that needs it. The state just the other day has decided not to do state testing, which I think is a very good decision. I would have struggled to recommend that to the board, so I'm happy we're not. I also look at that as a kind of a windfall because we will not be losing 2 or potentially 3 days out of instructional time as we go through this remote learning process. We are working as a state to find an opportunity later after this is all resolved for what would be our current juniors to take the SAT and those pieces, because not only is it state testing, but it's the college admissions process. So we'd really like to work with the state and make that happen. With regard to transportation, I had reached out to the vendor, Student Transportation of America. They have not provided any what I'll call concrete information yet. They're still working on what they're planning to do with their drivers and their vendors. So I will be providing further updates to the board. We are also sorting our way through the federal stimulus because there is money that will be coming to the state of New Hampshire and then being dispersed to K-12 educational districts. So we just want to make sure what the requirements are around that money because it will play a big role. One of the areas that I do want to highlight is the efforts by Bob and Amy. We have had over 100 IEP meetings via Zoom. So we have met family by family to make sure we're meeting the needs of those students and those students who have accommodations. Obviously, some things can be met virtually. We do have some students who still come to the building for services, and staff is working with them, and paraprofessionals are working with them, and that is working very well. We will always be evaluating as we go forward, and anytime we feel it's unsafe for somebody to be coming, we will close that. One of the pieces that goes into that, though, is there are components of this that we would be required to provide compensatory services for, and Bob and Amy are working on that and tracking that and working with Kelly, so we'll have a clear understanding of what we will owe in terms of the services and the dollars that would be attached to those services that would take place. We started today about some discussions around April vacation. It's not a cut and dry discussion. On one side, we would like everybody to have a break and kind of a time to take a breath. On the other side, if nobody's going to be getting away, we're just getting into the routine with students. So we're evaluating that. We also want to be conscious of the fact that if we close for vacation, our meal program has to be shut down. It can't serve when we're not open for session. Remote learning counts, but vacation does not. The other concern is if we didn't have a vacation, we would probably get out of school 5 days earlier, which sounds wonderful. But then when you go back to student services, that means we have more days to extend for extended school year, summer school programs, and all of those. And those are also cost items, and it would be increasing costs because we'd be increasing days. We're also a little concerned with extended school year because we'll have a staff coming off fatigue, because this is a very stressful time. As we all know from juggling our various households and what's going on in them, that this is, it goes about as smoothly as anybody can expect for something that nobody expected. So it goes really well. I want to highlight Gina's work. She has, taken our curriculum, turned it into a remote environment And I think we're doing a strong job of delivering services, knowing full well that we have some areas to improve on and some places where we really want to make sure we're balancing the social, emotional well-being of our students with the academic rigors that we expect as a school district. And I would open it up at this time to any questions you may have regarding anything, and either Bob, Gina, or I would be happy to step in, or Rick and Tim. And I don't want them to go unnoticed. They are still running their buildings daily, checking in on PLCs, teachers' classes, holding faculty meetings. They have gone above and beyond, and I can't thank them enough, because what it's provided for a routine and stability for our students, and that's critical in this type of crisis.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks to all of you for everything that you're doing, which sounds Herculean. So that's crazy. Are there any questions or comments from the members of the board?
I just have a question. Well, first I want to say I'm hearing a lot of great stuff about what we're doing, and certainly New Hampshire is in front of a lot of the states in terms of how we're doing it. But in addition to that, our district is doing a phenomenal job. I have received a couple of people asking me, it seems BG and Dairyfield are doing it more as classes are set up and kids are expected to be in front of their computer at a certain time until a certain time. And I was wondering, just everyone's thoughts on this and that model.
Well, I'd be happy to weigh in. One of the things that we had to take into account that I know is being experienced by some of those districts that have gone to a structured program is we have competing at home for bandwidth. So mom and dad have to be on Zoom or doing work. If we go to a structured schedule, that's going to mandate a certain time for a student to be on, and it becomes very, very difficult. Sitting here, for those at home, as the board knows, we have Fidelity Investments here, we have Babson College, we have Derry Adult Ed, and the superintendent of SAU 41. And there are many days where one of us has to shut down so the other can participate in a Zoom meeting. So I think that flexibility is something that a number of families have commented on a positive way, but I do understand their comments from their child having a routine. But right. I just don't know how long they will be able to sustain that model if we were all of a sudden going to the end of the school year.
Yeah, I hear you. Thank you.
Did you have something, Beth?
Yeah, first off, thank you to everybody for the efforts, and to comment too on some of the questions that you received, Krista, as a mom to 4 children in the district, it's not just the internet, it's the devices, it's the parent involvement and the parent time too. So I'm very grateful. I've heard really good feedback too, because a lot of us are still working and having to juggle that too and support, hopefully most of our middle schoolers and high schoolers are more on cruise control. It's the youngers that need more help. But I find it to be wonderful the way that it's set up that really allows flexibility for my high schooler, flexibility for my elementary. So I really appreciate it. It's going very smooth.
Good, thanks.
Rick?
I just wanted to add to what Andy said. And I meet weekly with principals across the state of New Hampshire through Zoom. There's about 25 to 50 of us, which is a pretty big amount. And everyone's doing things a little bit differently, but I've been really grateful to do what I'll call the asynchronous model. Although it's a little bit harder to figure out at first, it does provide the maximum flexibility. And just to kind of add to some of the things Andy mentioned, we have a number of students who are taking advantage of getting a job at the grocery store as a part of this as they get ready to head off to college, and are appreciative that the way this will adapt to a work schedule for them that changes. In addition to, we have what's been really interesting, some of the silver linings that have coming in this. We have a number of, I'll say, are very at-risk students who were not participating a lot as much as we would have liked prior to this, and they are thriving in this format and producing work in ways that we haven't seen in a long time. So while it definitely presents challenges and we get feedback and adjust to it all the time, it's that constant communication that kind of keeps us going. But I would argue that it's working better for us at this particular time.
Great.
Great.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I just echo the same thing that
I would
Rick
say,
was saying.
go ahead, Tim.
I was just going to echo the same thing that Rick was saying, and in addition to the feedback that I'm hearing from parents and families, my teaching staff who often, I have several teachers who are parents as well, and their ability to have flexible scheduling with their teaching expectations has been well received as well. So just echoing the same, I'm glad we're working in this format.
Thanks.
Thank you. I would say for us in our family, with only one of us in the high school right now, I would say every day it seems to be getting a little bit better. I'd say this week is a little bit stronger than last week, and I would anticipate, unfortunately, that we're going on through May, that it's going to get even stronger. So it's really about that feedback that teachers are giving to students, and it seems like that's increasing for my sample of one. So that's been better. Anybody else? Great. Next discussion point is the, no one has anything else. We're good? Okay. Co-op district calendar. Who's the point person on this? Gina, maybe?
Correct.
Yes, it is. Okay. So back by popular demand, a renewed version that follows what we typically do, which is teachers returning the Monday prior to Labor Day, which would be August 31st. The Monday and the Tuesday professional development days, that Wednesday, 7th and 9th grade orientation. And then September 3rd, first day for all students across the SAU. We still have that professional development day scheduled September 8th, as voting will take place at the high school. The same is true for November 3rd, with voting taking place at the high school on that day. But there is no professional development day scheduled for February or March. So it's sort of like that September day is swapped with the spring day. This puts the proposed graduation date of June 12th, the last school day, June 23rd, and the last day for co-op teachers, June 28th. And with the same number of days, 187 for teachers, 178 student days. Now that we have been participating in remote learning for 11 days, we could have the discussion of looking at that November day and potentially doing it, since it's a known day, then maybe we could create a remote learning day that's scheduled and take one day off at the end for student days. I think we're gonna come out of this remote learning time with a skill set that we didn't have prior, and we could use that to our advantage, especially on scheduled days. But that's something that we can take a look at after we have an approved calendar, and we can reflect upon this time of remote learning. Certainly there are challenges. We did end up loaning devices out to families, and we're still getting some families that had devices, but now they're running into some difficulties, so they're still reaching out for more devices. Not very many, but we want to make sure we would have that covered if we were to do a day of remote learning for next school year. And that would be something that Mr. Corey would ask for permission from the commissioner as we move forward. But for right now, that would be a scheduled professional development day. And that's the calendar. Any questions?
Are there any questions from anyone?
No.
Okay, so if there's no questions, no discussion, I will move this to a vote. No, we're not voting on this. Are we voting on this later? Yeah, that's after deliberations. So right now we're going to deliberations, right? I need a motion to approve the 2021 Hollis Brookline Cooperative School District calendar as presented.
So moved.
Anybody second?
Second.
Oh, that's Cindy seconded that. Okay. Is there any discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Beth?
Beth, aye.
Krista?
Krista, aye.
Kate?
Kate, I.
Tom,
Tom, I.
Cindy,
Cindy, I.
Liz,
Liz, I.
and Holly, I. Okay. So at this point, so that's moved and passed. At this
Thanks,
point,
Gina.
thank you, Gina. Yes, thank you. Krista always remembers the thank yous. She's so good at that. At this point, I'd like to have a motion to approve the middle school master schedule. We'll discuss it after we put it on the floor. So I need a motion to approve the middle school master schedule as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Beth, seconded by
Second.
Okay.
Seconded by Cindy. Okay, is there any discussion on this? I mean, maybe Tim, you could just briefly remind us how this hasn't really changed.
No, it has not changed since the February presentation. If you want me to just review a couple of the highlights. So the schedule was created through a collaborative effort that included teachers from all various departments throughout the building, administration, including special ed, as well as union representation. The four main concerns that were attempted to be addressed in the creation of a new schedule were providing teachers with student access. So during what we call skills time, creating for an overlap with core teacher availability. So that being one of the biggest challenges that teachers felt this year's schedule presented. So one of the goals in creating the new schedule was providing student access to teachers, specifically core teachers, math, science, social studies, and English. ROC, which is our advisory period, for lack of a better term. It serves a lot of different purposes in the building, but generally speaking, it serves as an advisory. And moving that back to the beginning of the day with the intent of providing students with a steady and constant place in person that they can meet with first thing in the morning was one of the goals. Right now in our current schedule, it's in the middle of the day and it rotates with lunch. So the intent was to move that back to the beginning of the day as a standalone block. And we attempted to have some more middle ground between the 86-minute periods and the approximately 40-minute periods that we're working with this year. We felt best practices somewhere around the hour mark was the goal. And the last intent of this ILT team that met in creating a new schedule was to provide an opportunity to have more team time. So as to not have to disrupt the next day's schedule, to have common team time. So we went through a lot of what our current schedule does provide for us, being consistency, allowing for student services to take place in a way that the prior schedule did not. So we wanted to maintain that and other benefits that the current schedule does have. So it was a pretty substantial effort in coming up with the schedule that you have seen. It's a schedule that has 6 blocks a day for 4 out of the 5 days. So 6 out of 8 classes meet on Monday through Thursday, and you drop 2 classes per day. Friday, all 8 periods would meet. What we call a skinny day, where all 8 classes would meet on Friday. The Monday through Thursday classes, we hit the mark with about 58-minute periods, and the Friday classes are 41-minute periods. The total instructional time increased per class per week from its current 209 minutes to 215 minutes. So it went up 6 minutes per class of instructional time. One of the goals here will be to pre-schedule our core classes with the intent of improving the common skills time with students and their access to their teachers. As we are currently in the we would have been in the 6th grade recommendations for 7th grade classes. Our 7th grade teachers have completed their recommendations, and we'll be beginning this process of creating the functional, the master schedule itself in the coming weeks. Monday through Friday, students will begin the day with Rock, providing a daily morning check-in and the opportunity to offer support to students who are coming into the building with that need. So that was definitely something that was one of our major focuses, and getting that back at the beginning was a positive. One of the other discussions, this was somewhat of a side note, but our quarter specialist classes, health, art, tech ed, and computer ed, we have some conversations at this board and other places about some of the imbalances that we saw this year in scheduling those. Those were grouped by team, and coming off of team allows for a little bit more flexibility and alleviates some of the scheduling constraints. And also, the decision was made, instead of having those rotate quarterly, was to have them rotate biannually. So for each semester, students would rotate on an every other day basis between computer ed and tech ed, and health and art. And in addition to some of the alleviated schedule constraints, it also can provide for some cross-curricular benefits that otherwise would not be available. So particularly in the field of STEM, with the computer ed and tech ed teachers collaborating on cross-curricular projects. It's still, this proposed schedule maintains, or now approved schedule maintains, our current schedule predictability for student services. Having met with members of student services, outside providers who come into the building, who are shared across the district, who work at the high school, we took a look at specific current schedules and how it would work with our students who receive these outside services. And it actually provides for a little bit more predictability in the idea of having some more availability for those skills times, provides for more opportunity for those outside services to take place in a predictable manner. And also, last but not least, one of the benefits here, we found with our current schedule, the 86-minute block that was just one time a week was really the only opportunity that our science classes had to conduct labs. The 40-minute periods didn't really provide the length of time that's required. And now with this new format with 58 minutes, it allows for more opportunities to run science labs that'll take a little bit longer. So 58 minutes provides for about 3 days a week that in a full 5-day week that science teachers could run their labs. And as always, I'm open to any questions or comments on the schedule.
Thank you so much, Tim. That's a great overview. Are there any questions?
I have one.
I have one. Tom,
Yep.
did you have a question?
Yes, I do.
Really?
It's hard to believe, isn't it? Tim, could you outline how the planning time of the CBA maps into the schedule?
So the goal will be, so teachers still have 5 preps out of a total of 8 classes. Currently, the language, I don't have it memorized, but the language around CPT is that one of the prep periods will be a CPT, which is a common planning time period. And the goal here will be, when you drop 2 out of your 8 classes per day, at some point, you will drop 2 academic classes, which would leave a CPT, a prep, and a what would be a duty period, a skills period. The goal being on the days where you drop a non-academic responsibility, i.e. your skills class, your duty, or one of your 2 preps, that you always maintain at least one of those preps. So either the CPT or your independent prep period. On Friday, with all 8 periods meeting, 3 out of the 4 quarters, you'd have 1 duty or your skills period, a CPT, and your personal prep. Did that answer your question, Tom?
In part, on how many minutes a day will be on the prep planning, will be spent on prep and planning time? Is it, and how does that compare to the schedule at the moment?
Per day, if you were to average out, it would be the same comparison as a academic class. So with 3 periods being non-teaching periods, either your duty, your skills, or your CPT, those numbers would actually increase across the course of the 5 days in a similar fashion that any one of the other academic periods increased. So as an example, if you had a personal prep period 1, you would have your 3 58-minute preps in the week, and you would have 1 41-minute prep on Friday, totaling 215 minutes over the course of the 5-day week. So it would be comparable to the increase in the academic classes.
Okay, thank you. Going forward, if this is approved, it would be helpful to get your input on how, if at all necessary, CBA language might be optimized to support what we're doing.
Absolutely, yeah. I would be happy to be part of that process in any capacity is deemed appropriate.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks, Tom. I have a question. I think, did you present this to the staff in a staff meeting? I mean, and got their feedback? I know you've gotten, was approved by the ILT, which is a smaller group, but the larger group of your entire staff, what was their general?
It was. I presented it at a staff meeting. You know, the group, the entire staff was updated monthly. The ILT team would meet, and as we gained ground towards where we ended up, the staff was kept updated throughout the process. When this final version came to fruition, it was presented to the staff, and it was supported by the general body of the teaching staff.
Great, thank you. And then one other thing, you said they have 5 preps a day earlier, and I just want to make sure we're clear that that doesn't mean 5 preparations. It means they teach 5 sections. They don't teach more than 2 or 3 preps, right?
That's correct. I'm sorry. Yeah. So every full-time teacher has 5 out of the 8 periods, has 5 classes that they teach.
Right. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yep.
Are there any other questions? Great job, Tim.
Thanks, Holly.
Okay. At this point, I'd like to take a vote. It's going to be roll call. So Beth, you're always first. You're right next to me.
It's okay, I'm ready. Beth, aye.
Krista.
Krista, aye.
Kate.
Kate, aye.
Liz.
Liz, aye.
Cindy.
Cindy, aye.
Tom.
Tom, aye.
And Holly, aye. Okay.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yay. Andy, is there anything else? Andy, I can't hear you. You're muted.
There we go. No, there's no other business for tonight. I will be in touch with the chair if we need to set up another emergency Zoom to address things as they continue to change.
Okay, so on that note, I'd like to thank everybody for their flexibility, and I'd like to thank Bob for sitting in the library, and Rich alone. Must be sad there. And at
They
this
get all the
point,
pizza.
yeah, I know.
I know, I already
really.
gave Tim a hard time. I'm like, where's my pizza? I was promised pizza if I showed up here. They didn't follow through.
Great.
And I've had to eat all the candy.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so I need a motion to adjourn.
So
We
moved.
don't have a non-public, so go ahead, Beth.
So moved.
Beth, a second.
Second.
Liz seconded. Okay, roll call vote. Beth.
Beth, I.
Liz, I.
Krista.
Krista, I.
Okay, I got Liz and Krista. Okay, Kate.
Kate, I.
Tom.
Tom, I.
Cindy.
Cindy, I.
Holly, I. That was messy. Okay, we are adjourned at
Right.
6:54.